Hi, thanks for watching this video. My name is Carlos Tanner and I'm the program director for the Ayahuasca Foundation, which is located in Iquitos, Peru. I've been living down in the Amazon rainforest for over 15 years. I lived with a curandero the first 4 years, and I've learned so much from studying the tradition of plant medicine and working with ayahuasca. And a lot of those lessons I've realized are things that I could definitely apply in every aspect of my life, not just working with plant medicine and not just in the theme of healing, but just in general. And they've made such a big impact on my life, and I thought that I might make a series of videos to talk about them in the hopes that maybe you could learn from them and find benefit in them and improve your life too as well. That's my goal, at least. So here goes. A little bit about myself. I'm from Massachusetts. I was, I guess, a successful person back in the U.S. I had a career job that I actually enjoyed when I got it, and lived in a nice house and drove a nice car, and I had all the things that successful people are supposed to have. At least that's what we're told. But yet I was kind of miserable. And I started using drugs and drinking as a way to kind of tolerate the dissatisfaction I had with a life that I was supposed to be satisfied with. And I ended up kind of spiraling downward into drug addiction. I was still maintaining my job, but also becoming like more of a drug addict, more of an alcoholic. And that eventually led up to a real wake-up point where I realized that if I was going to continue to follow the conditioning that I had about what success meant, and also continue to try to numb myself to the lack of satisfaction that conditioning was bringing, I was going to end up dying, or at least making myself very sick. I was already sick. In 2003, I had been suffering with a condition that I'd had for a couple of years, and I had gone to doctors and they couldn't figure out what was wrong with me. And so I was looking for a solution. I was looking for a way to make all those problems kind of come together in a way that I would be happy with my life, and to find a true path that I knew I was meant to follow, and it wasn't the career that I had, and perhaps not even the model of what success was. And luckily, I was able to get myself down to Iquitos, Peru in the summer of 2003, and that was a mind-blowing experience. If any of you have drank ayahuasca, which I'm assuming some of you definitely have, or you wouldn't have found this video, you know it's a pretty incredible experience, and it's something that definitely changes your life forever. It has the potential to. And that's what it did for me. I stopped using drugs. I really changed my life completely. And during that time, though, the curandero, or the shaman that I was with, told me that in his visions he could see that this was my path to become a healer, and it was my path to work with plant medicine. And so he invited me to live with him. His name was Don Juan Tangoa Paima, and I felt the same way. My experiences and my ceremonies were definitely confirming what he had said, and so I took him up on his offer. I did go back home, but in 2004, in January, I moved to Iquitos, Peru, and I began living with him and his family and studying plant medicine and working with ayahuasca. And one of the things that drew me so much to the tradition was a very different approach. And I want to maybe start this series by just contrasting the two approaches to healing. One that I have been working with for the last 15 years, and the one that I had been trying to work with all the years leading up to that in my life, that was not very successful for me. And I don't know if it's that successful for a lot of people. The Western perspective, which I'll refer to it as the Western, is very material based. It's scientific in the sense that it wants to understand particles and the material, the chemistry. If you take a medicine, what is the chemical interaction on a cellular level? And I don't refute that at all. That's of course real, and I believe in science 100%. However, it's a one aspect of our wholeness. And the indigenous perspective, which is how I'll refer to the contrasting perspective of what I've been working with the last 15 years, is I would call a spiritual paradigm. So it looks at a lot of the spirit, which is not so physical. In fact, it's non-physical. And it looks at those elements and how they affect the physical. And to me, that is like the difference between looking at the symptoms, because that would be the expression, what's actually happening on a physical level, and then looking at the roots. And those are the causes. That's what's really going on. And so if you're going to treat the symptoms, then obviously there's a high chance that the same problem will express itself. Maybe not in the exact same way, although that's common, but it could express itself in a different way. And this was my experience, and I think it's been the experience of so many people, where we have a problem perhaps that we've had for years on a spiritual level or an emotional level, and yet it expresses itself in a lot of other health issues. Maybe they're mental issues, maybe they're physical issues. And without the ability to get to the core, get to the roots, all we're doing is, pushing one down to have another come up. Like, we're fixing one symptom only to have to deal with another symptom. And the indigenous perspective is flips it. It doesn't say, let's look at the symptoms and try to fix that. It says, let's look at what's causing those symptoms and let's try to fix that. So the difference would be, in simple terms, just to pull the roots of an affliction or to try to deal with the expression of the affliction. I think it's obvious to me which I would prefer. I want to pull the roots. I don't want to have to keep going back and back and back. And, perhaps the corporatism involved with our modern medical system has something to do with that. I don't want to get too much into that, like a political rant or anything. But another aspect of the tradition that totally drew me so much was, in my own healing experience, I was the most important part of the healing experience. And yes, of course, the medicine enabled me to have an enhanced ability, and I was able to achieve much more than I could have without taking ayahuasca. But it was me. I was the one that was directing it. I was the one that was using my own insights, my own faculties, my own memories and feelings, and my own abilities to achieve the healing. And I was so empowered by it. And that's the word that I would use to generalize what the indigenous tradition does for you. It empowers you. Whereas Western tradition and the medicine that I was trying prior to going down to Peru, and the doctors I was visiting, they were almost taking away my power. I had instances where I would go to the doctor and I would say, like, I think I know what's going on. I have an insight into this because I've lived my life for my life. I know me better than anyone. And literally had the doctors be like, no, that's not it, and like just brush off my insight, which was totally accurate. And it would take me like months to find that out on my own, to then have the doctors be like, wow, that's so surprising. If they had only listened to me, if they had only allowed me to have the power that I deserve to have in my own healing process, then it would have been a much better situation for me. So I really was drawn to those two aspects. One, empowering the patient, because of course the patient should be the most important part of the healing process. It's the process of the patient. And the second part is the going to the root cause. And so in so many cases, the root cause is trauma, whether it be childhood trauma or later in life, but almost inevitably there is trauma involved. And so in the future episodes, I want to talk a lot more about how trauma affects us in so many different ways, and how we can address it, and how we can work towards healing it, and how ayahuasca helps us to do that. But in the beginning for this video, I just wanted to introduce myself, and of course if you guys have things that you would like me to talk about, I would love to hear it, so please put it in the comments down below. And I think I'm supposed to tell you to like and subscribe to this video. That would be awesome too. Like I said, I'm going to make a series of 10 videos. I have them planned out, and I want it to progress further and further along to hopefully take you guys with me on my personal journey over the last 15 years and the lessons that I've learned that I've been able to incorporate into my life and make it so that my life has been so much happier and healthier. And I want to share those with you in the hopes that maybe even just by watching the video and contemplating those concepts and perhaps shifting your perspective and your understanding, you can make important changes in the way that you view yourself and the world around you and the way that you live, so that you too can live a happier life and be healthier too. So again, I'd love to hear from you. If you want to comment down below. If you want to check out our website too, it's ayahuascafoundation.org. I'll put that in the information below if you want to take a look at the programs that we offer down in Iquitos, Peru, in the middle of the Amazon rainforest. Thanks so much for watching, and I really appreciate your time and energy, and I hope that you have a wonderful day and a wonderful life, and I hope that you come back to watch some more videos. Thanks. Bye-bye.